please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name's Emilia D'Anzica. I'm a leadership coach and a customer journey lifecycle advisor for B2B tech companies.
Awesome. And you've got a story to share with us today. Where in this world does this story begin?
It started in 2018 when I was wrapping up a corporate job at a fast growing company that was on their way to going public. I'd been there for 3+ years. Abruptly dismissed without going into the details. I'm sure you can find them all online, but I could have chosen to feel sorry for myself, decided that I was washed up at 42 and no longer had a place in tech. But something inside me, after thinking and maybe feeling a bit sorry for myself for a little bit, I had two young daughters and a son all living at home looking up to me. And of course, when you live in San Francisco, you can't exactly not be working and still be providing. And so I had to lick my wounds and just think about, what are my superpowers? What am I good at? And what can I do? Given now have 20+ years of experience in tech, I have an MBA, and I have a passion to help people. And I grew up in a large Italian Catholic family who owned a restaurant, and our purpose as a family was not only to help each other, but also to make people happy through food, through service. And so I use those different superpowers and plus my tech experience in customer success and customer service to start a management consulting firm. So fast forward 7 years, I have since sold a customer success academy in the spring, and then also the management consulting firm. So one to a PE firm on the East Coast, the other to a company in Orange County. And since then, I've been strictly focused on leadership coaching for executives who want to level up their skills. And then I also am an instructor at Booth Business School, and I teach chief revenue officers what it means to lead customer life cycles for B2B, predominantly B2B tech companies. So I have found where I can serve myself the best purpose. And I'm grateful, I'm happy, and I'm constantly seeking ways to be able to give back and help people even further, because the reality is, Eric, that everyone has a purpose on this earth. Everyone has something to give. Sometimes they need to just be able to talk about it. They need a boost. They need someone to be their champion.
I love that. You know, we've been talking about purpose a lot on the show recently, and I had the wonderful Amy Tyre on, and her husband was at HubSpot for like a bazillion years. He was one of their executives. And over the years, she's been studying yoga and Reiki and just becoming this far out spiritual guru while also learning the business game. And she and I talked about how to find purpose. She had a lot of really great recommendations right now in my life, and the listeners of the show are probably sick of hearing about this from me, but I left the Mormon church in 2019. I was born and raised Mormon. So dark night of the soul, you know, very confusing to have this intensely, I mean, you know, you're Italian Catholic, to have this intense religiosity in my life and then to abandon it and abandon God really at the time. It was like, it was really intense. And then I went and tripped on ayahuasca a couple months later, and that just like tripled down the confusion for me, because then I was like, oh my gosh, there's all this amazing stuff out there. Like, who knew? And so I've been through countless sessions and seminars and meditations and books and all sorts of stuff about finding purpose, researching the concept of Dharma and the Tao and the Tao and all these things. And I went through Jack Canfield's book, Success Principles. And one of the sections in there, the first one, I believe, actually talks about purpose. And he's got this great structure to be like, you pick your two like best qualities. Like I use my creativity and my connection with people to, objective that you're like, if everything is the best case scenario, like, what does the world look like for you? Describe it for me. And he was like, look, it's all right if you don't nail it on the first go. You can take it through a couple iterations, but you're waiting for the time that this phrase that you give yourself resonates. And you can just like, like, yes, this is my purpose. And I gotta tell you, it didn't latch on for me. And I went through a bazillion iterations of it to try and find it. And um, I ended up kind of going the route of accepting this life as a simulation because I grew up playing video games, and I now have this little haiku that I read to myself that says, life is just a game. You are here to level up. Do it for plot, right? Like a story. So I rehearse this to myself, and it's fun because it kind of creates this dynamic choose your own adventure, like I'm an actual character in the game. And it has helped me look at life like a series of quests to be accomplished and monsters to slay and loot to get, right? But the purpose is still missing a bit for me. And I know that there's a lot of people that feel this same way out there. And so, what would be your prescription for somebody like me who has been on this trail for a while and has tried all the frameworks and paradigms of finding it?
Yeah. I would say don't be afraid of being yourself. I think as an immigrant child who was brought first to Canada from Italy, and I was born into death. My brother had that I never had an opportunity to meet was killed by a drunk driver. And so I was born into this family of sadness and not really understanding what death really meant. Growing up in this family, but always having this sense of closeness with my siblings and my parents, I was embarrassed that first I couldn't speak English, but second, we were so different than all the kids at school. What my mom packed in my lunch, how she dressed me, my hair, all these things were very different about me. My parents never let me go to lessons. We never had big birthday parties at places. We had them at our pizzeria. All of the friends and the neighbors were invited, not just the kids. And so everything was different, and I was embarrassed about it. And what I can say is that one day, I think my late father um, instilled this in us without ever even saying it is, who are you proving yourself to? What have you got to prove? Like, unless it's for yourself, and you're not hurting anyone, why are you always trying to be like someone else? And I look at places like Pinterest, I look at Instagram, I even look at what my children post, and it makes me sad because I think of how everyone is trying to be like everyone else, wear the certain brands, be the certain weight, have the certain hair. It's always constantly trying to be someone you're not. And so going back to your question is, once you sit and really be still with yourself and think about who are you? What do you bring to this earth that is unique? And you actually lean into it instead of being embarrassed about it, you will find your community and you will find your purpose because only now that I'm inching closer to 50, I've realized there are a lot of immigrants in this world that were embarrassed as children, that have been born into death, into families that you don't talk about sadness. You don't talk about things that are hard. You tough it up and you move forward without thinking or going too deeply into the pain. And in really embracing that, no, that is something that actually a lot of people have been brought up not understanding why we're now able to help others. And I think once you sit with that stillness and realize you're not weird, you're not dumb, nothing's wrong with you, but rather you were put on this earth for a purpose and it's always in a way to help others. That's when you can start being yourself and embracing what is my path? What was I meant to do on this earth, given we have such little time on it?
I feel like the question of purpose, it almost like stresses me out. I'm like, I'm trying to solve it all. I'm trying to like, ah, yes, like I meet like doctors, for instance. Oh, I love them so much. It just seems like they're like, yes, I was always meant to be a doctor and help people, or I was always meant to be a nurse and help people. I was always meant to be a cop. I got a bunch of cops in my family, and they're just so confident in what they do, and they just love what they do, and it's just like, ah, give me a break. Here I am, on this journey that I'm building companies and I'm investing in entrepreneurs and I'm helping people create passive income. And I still find myself searching for my purpose. And I'm almost wondering, like, at this point, do I just say forget it? There is no purpose to it. It's all just you just live your life and you just have as much fun as you can and you stick to your core values and you derive as much happiness in the moment. And so one of the other exercises that I've been through is uh deciding on my values. So I literally took like a list of all the values that, adjectives for living my life, wisdom and prudence, right? And I was like, we'll combine those into wisdom or like keeping commitments and integrity. Like, okay, integrity is the winner. And I narrowed them down into a list of five. And so that helps me feel like I'm aligning and making sure that I'm sticking to my values. And I think if people haven't done that, it's a great exercise to be like, what is it that I actually care about? And so that was really instructive for me, but I one of the things that I think about often is macro problems with like economy, trying to understand what the next iteration of capitalism is going to be. This neo-capitalist AI, we've got 5 trillionaires are going to be in the next year. And it's like, oh, we've got this massive lower and middle class that it's all disproportionate and there's all these people suffering. So I think about that all the time, but I'm like, who am I? What am I gonna do about that? I'm a young entrepreneur and maybe I can make a movement, but I probably won't see the fruits of it for years to come. So like why? And I get stuck on that all the time. I'm curious what your thoughts are there.
I think the 99% of people that don't find their their niche or what really makes them happy, how they can truly help others, is they think in these big pictures, but they're not willing to get uncomfortable and hone in on the 1 to 3. And you had Dan Tyre, I think, from, HubSpot. He says, because I listened to your session with him, he says, "If you want help from me, I don't wanna hear your whole life story. I want 1 to 3 things that I can help you with, that you're struggling with." And I think that if you like what I heard from you is your purpose is to help investors and entrepreneurs that are starting their journey. Your family that are police officers, their purpose is to protect the community. The doctors is to save lives. They have very specific purposes, and the minute you try to be everything to everyone is the minute you're completely overwhelmed. And that's honestly how I manage my life. I have a good old fashioned agenda beside me at all times. I write out for the week everything I want to accomplish. And then I put one thing I want to accomplish each day. Because if I try to check everything off in one day, I am overwhelmed, I abandon everything, and I end up feeling bad for doing nothing. And so I've realized that's my personality. I have lots of things I want to do, but if I try to do everything, I'm going to do it either at a mediocre level or very poorly or not at all. So I'd rather just do one thing really well and nothing else. Like when I'm teaching, especially if I'm teaching 2 cohorts, I will politely decline meetings during that time. I really want to be present for my students, and it makes me a better educator. And so I think everyone has a different way to be successful with their purpose. But for me, it's distilling it to 1 to 3 things I want to accomplish, and the rest I consider noise until I can get to it.
I love that. Thank you for your instructive help with me today. Where can everyone find you?
I have a website. It's my name, Emilia Speaks CX, which is short for customer experience. Or I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram. Always happy to connect and meet new people and share stories.
And thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been the Pulse Ox podcast. Please, if you found this episode valuable, give us a like on Spotify and share it with a friend.